In this video, we're going to create an exponential regression scatter plot. So first, let's take a look at our data. And what we're going to do is we're going to highlight our columns of the data that we're looking at. And we're going to create a scatter plot. So let's go to Insert, Charts, and Scatter Plot. And this is our scatter plot. Now a nice, quick, easy way to draw the scatter plot that includes the exponential regression is that if you have this quick layout option, click on the layout and click on the one that contains the regression equation. Now this is the regression line. This is a linear regression, and we've already talked about this linear regression. But we are interested in creating an exponential regression. So to change this in some versions of Excel, what we're going to do is we're going to double click on this line, and then it's going to give us trend line options. Now linear is selected, so this is a linear equation, but if we click on exponential, we will get our exponential function and a different r squared that is going to describe the strength of our exponential regression. So that's one way to get this. Alright, let's put this aside. Well, before we put it aside, notice the function that we have here. This isn't exactly the function form that we want. This is an exponential regression, but it has that number e in there, and that's not exactly what we want. What we want is a constant times another constant raised to the x without any e's in it. So we're going to find that a different way, and the way we're going to find that is with a command called log estimate. So let's see, we're going to press equals to. Well, first of all, just to get clear what we're looking for these values a and b. Okay, so the function that we're going to look for, or the function that we're going to use, is called log estimate. So let's say equals log est, and you see this is a log estimate. It says return statistical or statistics that describes exponential curve matching the data points. So it's looking for y values, and it's looking for x values. Oops, let's go back to the y's and then hit comma and then x values. Now these things, including the known x values, are in square brackets. What that means is that these are optional. So we won't worry about the constant or stats, but we will want to put our known x values. So if we close the parentheses and hit enter, we're going to get this value. This value is actually the base of the exponential function, that's b, and what we need is a. And so this is going to be the tricky part. This is not a separate function. What we're going to need to do is use the same function and extend its output. What does that mean? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take this function, or we're going to take this cell, and then we're going to select the next cell, the cell next to it. So you can do that in a variety of ways. You can click on the cell and press shift and then click on this cell, so that's going to select both of them. Or you can go back to the cell and then click while it's the big fat cross like this, click and drag to the next cell. Okay, here's the tricky part. We're going to press F2 while we have these selected and while you already have your function written in. We're going to press F2. Okay, so that's what happens when we press F2, and then we're going to press Control Shift and then enter. Keep the Control Shift pressed, press enter, and then let it go. So here is your equation. So what do we have? Our regression equation is going to be y is equal to, and then the a is 97.564, 564. times, and then the b is 1.420 raised to the x power. Okay, so this is your actual equation for this particular problem. Now that we know our actual equation, what we can do is we can create an estimate over here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to this thing and click on this, and we will say equals to, and then basically copy what we have here, 97.564 times parentheses 1.42 close parentheses raised to. Now instead of the x value, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the x value here. So I'll click on that, and then when I click and drag, then it's going to change the different x values accordingly. So I'll press enter first, I'll click on this, and then click and drag, so I have my different values for my exponential function. What this is going to allow me to do is it'll allow me to make a scatter plot with these pieces of data. So let me just select this. Actually, we can select the headers as well. And let's go to Insert, Charts, Scatter Plot. And so now I have almost the same data set, except I have my dots for my exponential estimates, or you can call them predictions, but we'll call them estimates. So if I want to kind of make it look like our previous graph, where I have an actual curve, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of these exponential estimates, and then actually if you double click on it, they'll give you a better selection of things. Let's see, so I click on those, and I want to select fill and line, and right now it says no line, so I do want a line, and so if I click on the line, solid line, it's going to connect that line for me, and then now I have my exponential graph. And if you want to take a look, let me close this up again and pull out my first exponential graph. If we take a look at this, if we kind of match it up as close as we can, it's looking pretty much like the data that we had, or that exponential graph that we had earlier. So that's the other way to create it. Okay, now the other tricky part is finding the r squared over here, and with Excel it's already this whole process is pretty involved. So in Excel it's going to require some more functionality that we don't need to worry about. I think it might be easier to do this in our calculators, and we'll see in another video that the calculator way will be a little bit easier to look at. Alright, I hope this helps.